ईश्वरी एसएस आ गया, तेरा तो नाम ही नहीं आया। एसएस आ गया, मेरे से तेरा तो है ही नहीं ना ये, क्या बोलते हैं ग्रुप में, और तेरे पास।
Just 2 more minutes, we're waiting for our final panelist to join us. Hello, everyone, and a very good evening. On behalf of Sigma AI, I would like to welcome you all to our event, AI Conclave 21. My name is Ananya, and I will be your host for today. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you all to our panelists for the evening. We have Mr. Ajay Krishnan, who is an AI researcher at SpaceML, which works with the NASA Impact team to solve Earth science problems. Then we have Mr. Mohit Onial, the co-creator of Coding Minutes, a startup which was acquired by Scalar Academy. Mohit sir has been teaching AI, ML, and data science for the past 2 years. And then we have Mr. Utpal Chakravarti, who is currently the Chief Digital Officer at Allied Digital Services Limited. He was the head of artificial intelligence at Yes Bank. We will be having a discussion with our panelists for the first 1.5 hours of the event, followed by a Q&A round with the audience. If anyone has any questions, I request them to put them in the chat box so we can address them. So without further ado, let's get started. I kindly request our speakers to turn on their cameras. Hello, Mohit sir.
Hi, hello. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Ajay sir. Uh, I think Utpal sir just left us. We'll just add him back. Hello, Utpal sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible, yes.
1 second, let me put my microphone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we can get started. So I have some questions for you. My first question, I will be going through some questions with all of you, and we can have a nice discussion between us. So my first question is related to education. So, the grading of marks on many occasions is rather intuitive. The teacher might be grading a student based on how much they feel the student has understood or how much they are experienced in that particular field. How do you think AI will be able to take into account these factors and evaluate responses and provide a more objective grading system? So, Mohit sir, would you like to take this one first?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. So, yes, AI in education can be used, and there can be a lot of applications where we can use AI in education. One example that you have just given is a wonderful example where we can evaluate, let's say, assignments or homework or maybe quizzes or even like student responses in classes in the classroom, right? So, for example, like there can be multiple machine learning or AI or deep learning algorithms that we can use. So let's say that there is a very open-ended question. How would you design, let's say, a system? Or there can be like if there are questions that are objective. For example, if these are just fill in the blanks type of questions, these questions can easily be done or automated using AI. But there can be some questions that are very subjective to grade. For example, some open-ended questions like or some design based questions. But we have seen there are some startups, there are some technologies people are using, or there are some tools people are using that they can auto grade these assignments as well, or these type of submissions as well. So, with the help of natural language processing, or which is a subfield of AI, which can understand what you have written in the content. For example, if you are just giving one essay, which is a reading, right? Or a writing activity. If you are writing, let's say, 10-page essay or article, and that algorithm or that AI machine can evaluate how precise you have written based on the topic, or what are the pros and cons of the topic that you have written. Similarly, there can be multiple other examples where we can use AI technology. So this is just one example that I can get at the top of my head right now.
Right. Thank you, sir. And Utpal sir, Ajay sir, do you have any inputs on this topic?
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Uh, I think AI, especially in education. So I'll start with analytics. Okay. So definitely we can do some very meaningful analytics uh, on different verticals of education. Number one is essentially we can actually do an analytics with the student data, which is again behavioral analytics, and we can find out that what in which area a particular student can actually excel. Okay, so and that can be done by looking into different parameters from different parameters. It could be parameter, I mean demographic parameters. It could be parameters, academic parameters of the student, and many other parameters. If we take into consideration on those, and if we do a predictive analytics on top of that, then to a certain extent or to a certain accuracy, we'll be able to tell like this is the particular field that this student or this definitely at an early stage, right? I mean, it is not for graduate students or something like that. So mostly these are for the toddlers or for the kindergartens or probably at the secondary level. We can easily find out that this particular student can actually go into this particular field. So that is number one. This is a very big use case. Second use case is basically uh, to if you see now online education, okay, it is being now very prevalent everywhere, right? I mean, even the schools, colleges, they are also doing online classes. So here, uh, what are the areas? Because as it is not a face-to-face kind of a communication between the teacher and the students, so there could be a lot of gaps. Okay, now how to identify those kind of gaps here? Okay, and that too at an individual level. Okay, a particular student probably he is not very he has not understood a particular chapter, or he is not very good at particular thing, a particular concept. Okay, and if he gets some kind of a help on that particular chapter or concept, probably he can take it. I don't know if he is coming here. Okay, he can actually do good into that particular subject. So that kind of analysis is also possible. Okay, if we put those kind of data into a AI system. And the third use case which I can see is essentially the attentiveness. Okay, how attentive the, because you can actually read the faces, you can read the eye movement and all other things. Okay, if you have an interactive laptop or a desktop or interactive device, okay, you can easily read out, okay, where a particular student is giving his attention, okay, or not, in which particular topic, which particular subject, in which particular video of that course. Okay, and when a particular instructor, probably a particular instructor, he's very attentive. For other instructors, he's not. So these kind of things also can be captured, and we can do very valuable analytics on top of that. Okay? So these are some of the use cases that came into it. But as I told you, it could be versatile. There are many use cases, and I think we are just scratching the surface. Okay, more we go with that, we'll get more and more use cases.
Right. I also had a follow-up question to this. So, like you mentioned, maybe it might depend on the student's aptitude or being able to pay attention. So, as we can currently see, as we are online right now, when we have online college, so students might lose focus during their lecture. They might find it either too easy or too hard. And right now, the teachers can't even make out if the students are paying attention or not. So, how can AI help in something like this?
Yes, so definitely. I mean, you look at that kind of a device also. So always it may not be possible with a mobile phone or a tablet or kind of this thing. But I mean, and also your whatever app you are designing or application you design, that should be intelligent enough. Okay, that should have those facilities to capture those kind of things. As I told you, like in retail or in e-commerce, it is already been implemented, right? So they can actually look at your eye, they can trace your eye movement, and they can find which part of the screen, okay, your attention is going, okay, where you are looking at, and now where you are losing your attention, and all those things they can. So I think it is not a very easy thing, but yes, I think I mean, very soon people are going to come up with this kind of solutions also, wherein we can track those eye movements, and actually we can find out whether they are paying attention to a particular class, a particular topic, or a particular parts of the video. So it is also important, right? So when we watch the YouTube video, they can easily find out which are the areas where actually it attracts your attention. Okay, so that is very much possible.
Right. And Ajay, sir, you have something to say on this?
Yeah, so adding to you, it's again the question you asked, like the field itself is quite open in this, and AI in education, I feel ever since we've also like gone offline, the technology, like we have to rely on technology for the educational sector itself, and AI has been bolstering them in a lot of ways. And maybe another application we could look at is the optical, like OCR, character recognition. So you already have your problems with you. You have the problems. You might not, as a parent, maybe you might not be able to solve them for your kids. So all you need is an app that can understand the questions for you and give you the solutions for it. And again, like like it has already been mentioned, you can also look at how like AI has been personalizing things for everybody. So if depending on your grasp of a concept, you can get more questions regarding it, or you can get less questions. Like They've made the whole field more interactive, I would say, more personalizable, and it's also been helping a lot in terms of the accessibility for people because of how because of how personalized things have become.
So these are some of the advantages. What are some of the disadvantages of having AI in education? For example, maybe a human interaction, the human side of things.
Okay, so I can try it out probably. Okay, disadvantages in the sense, so first of all, every AI model, okay, whatever machine learning model or deep learning model you are building, there is a possibility that the model get biased, right? So there is a issue, okay, which has been discussed across the globe into different platforms among the data science community, right? So how to deal with any kind of biases that may come, and these biases may come from your data. And this is not only education. I mean, education probably is one of those fields. You take any field, whether it's banking and finance. So if the model that you are building and you are training with the data, if your data is biased, okay, so it could be gender bias, it could be biased for any kind of caste, community, creed, okay, any kind of color, anything. It could be anything, any social group, okay, high economic group or low level of economic group. It could be biased to anything. Okay, it depends on the data. So if your data is not balanced data, okay, and if your model is trained with those kind of data, there is a possibility that the model can get biased. And if a model can get biased, okay, it can be harmful even for education also or in banking. So I'll give you an example of banking. Okay, and for example, so a credit risk assessment model, okay, if it is biased to probably a particular gender, then always that gender will get the highest score, and they will be getting the loans, right? And all other genders will not get that amount of loan, I mean, which they actually deserve. Okay, so it can happen. So when you give a decision to a autonomous system like that, so it is important also to see like how the model is actually performing in terms of whether it is biased or whether it is accuracy is going deep and all those things, because it has got a lot many implications to the society, to that particular domain or to that particular field. So that is one disadvantage that I can see. Apart from that, probably if you are collecting a very specific data from students, okay, or from probably from the academia, from the teaching community or something like that. So if you are collecting those data, so you need to also see are you using any kind of personal private data or any kind of privacy related information into that? Okay, so if you are using it, then probably it may hinder into the privacy arena or the privacy boundary of an individual, which is also not good, right? So for any kind of assistances, okay, virtual assistances, now we train with a lot of personal data, but at the same time we should also see that we are not using very personal specific data. So somebody has some medical problem, okay, some kind of medical history or something like that, or somebody has some kind of a background, okay, it could be a criminal background also at times, okay, but now he's a good man. Okay, you should not use those kind of data to train your virtual assistants, okay, because it may impact a lot of things. So these are some of the disadvantages that I can see, and probably the other speakers can add to.
Yeah, collecting other data is going to be the hardest task in this field because you have all the organizations and most of them can be private, and yeah, you need to get access to data across like all ranges for you because India itself, like if you are just focusing on India alone, our country is already pretty diverse, so we need to have like a diverse collection of data if we are going to focus on different sets of people. And the problem might like it's not exactly a problem. The challenge can only get harder here because you also have like different languages and everything. So you will have to. It's more of a nice challenge because you need like the data collection is the hardest part here. So once you're able to sort this out, I think the whole field itself can progress smoothly. So yeah, and the private like you have the private and public players. Public players can have more access. But yeah, so it depends on what kind of steps we can take in order to get like the best data available.
Okay, very good examples regarding the data Utpal sir and Ajay has given. So, apart in addition to these points, I would like to add one more point, which is about the human touch. For example, if we are teaching to a small kid, let's say 5-year-old or 10-year-old, so we cannot expect a robot to teach that person. So there's a human interaction also required for teaching as well, right? Even in other fields as well, human intervention, human interaction is required. So AI cannot replace all the teachers or educators, or but what AI can do is AI can add things. AI can add give some advantage, for example, in while evaluating the marks, or while evaluating the homework. If it is objective type of questions, AI can do that. If it is subjective, for example, if a fifth grade student writes an essay, AI can evaluate that essay or that paragraph. But apart from evaluating, just giving let's say object just giving a number 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, AI need to explain that why AI is giving 8 out of 10, why not 10 out of 10. So what are some feedbacks? So for example, whenever generally teacher evaluate your essay or evaluate your homework, they also write some note that why I am giving or why I'm deducting 2 marks or 3 marks. So this is one thing that we need to be very sure that if AI is evaluating marks or homeworks, then the model need to give the feedback that why they have deducted 2 marks or 3 marks, so on and so forth. So this is one example where AI might not be able to. I mean, we don't know how good AI is to give the feedback, evaluating, and all these things. AI can do, but understanding the personal preferences would be slightly difficult for AI model to train at this moment right now. So yeah, one point would be this. This would be maybe one disadvantage.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there's also a question in the chat box if you would like to address that.
Um, I mean, it depends. Okay, for an online setting, yes, maybe, because they are planning on taking it to the next level. But again, we also like do not quite know what and how they are planning on right now. It's not exactly a confirmed question. Like, the answer is not quite certain because it depends on what they will implement.
And Mohit sir or Utpal sir, do you have any answers for this question
So
about the metaverse and
okay,
online classes?
right now we don't have any information or what type of model they are going to build. Like this is just the basic idea that okay, there would be one 3D hypothetical world where things will go things like that. But we don't have any other information like how this will work. Uh, let's forget about education. Let's talk about normal daily life. We don't have enough information right now, so I don't know. I mean, it could be, but it's not near in 5 years. It will take time. If this happens, it will take time.
And why do you think education will be completely online for the future? That you will be having offline as soon as COVID ends. So,
Ajay sir, your audio is not really clear.
oh wait, 1 second. Is it better now, or
There's some disturbance in the background.
is it like better? Any? Is it better? Do you know?
Slightly. Uh, okay, all right. We'll move on to our next question now. So let us look at the finance side of AI. So Utpal sir, I have a question. What kind of data is usually collected to further the use of AI in finance?
Yeah, so it depends on the use case. Okay, what use case we are building. Am I audible, by the way?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. So probably if you want to build a credit risk model, so I think probably many people knows that. So before giving any kind of financial aid or any kind of loan to an individual, so bank normally what it does is it does the risk assessment. Okay, while giving you credit, okay, how much risk I am incurring and how to mitigate that risk. So for that, nowadays AI models are pretty good because human can only consider a couple of parameters or data points, right? No, while correlating those. But when it comes to machine learning models, you can actually have multiple, many parameters, and also you can do a fine grain kind of assessment while doing this kind of things. So for this kind of use cases, so normally three types of parameters are taken into consideration. I mean, three groups of parameters, you can say. So first is your demographic details. Okay, so your demographic details contains your, I mean, your name, your father's name, where you took birth, date of birth, I mean, a place of birth. Okay, for where you were there and all that thing. Second group of information is essentially, or second type of information is your financial information. So financial information includes all information related to your income. It could be from your salary, or it could be from your house that you have rented, or if you have agriculture property, from there you are getting money, or somebody from your family is also working, okay, or your spouse is working, or your children is working, well, whoever it is. So these are essentially the financial information. But apart from that, also another information that we collect is your transactional details, and these are very, very dynamic details, okay, because your transaction history or the profile of a customer, okay, on the basis of the transactions are very, very dynamic. Okay, so probably today you are a very good payer. Okay, you are paying your credit card things pretty well. Okay, every on time, the full amount and all those things. Your loan amount you are paying well. But tomorrow, okay, you may go into some financial crisis, God forbids, or something like that, and your this. Repayment of your loan or repayment of your credit card things, it goes down. Okay, you are not paying in time or something like that. So all the three kind of parameters, three groups of parameters. So there are many parameters within each group. It has been collected, okay, and on top of that, a machine learning model has been run, and we need to assess the risks, okay, associated with that. Of course, we also get a parameter, your credit score, from credit bureaus like CIBIL or Experian, or there are other credit bureaus also. But that score is a standard score, right? That score gives an indication, and each bank has their appetite. Okay, so if your score is lesser also, some bank may take that risk and give you the loan, because they may see, no, no, this guy is okay, somehow his current score has gone down, but he is eligible for a loan and he can give it. So that's where this kind of system comes into picture. Now for other things, like if we want to give you a conversational banking experience, right? Wherein you do all the banking transaction using conversation. Now to customize some of the services and offers which are essentially very, very personalized and as per your requirement, we collect some data. Okay, we need to collect your data, because if I want to know your personal preferences, I need to collect some data. Otherwise, how I will be, again, as a human also, I will not be able to know, right? So same it goes for the systems kind of thing. So in that case, but we make sure that we don't collect any kind of sensitive data from you. Okay, very, very, like I told, if you have a medical history, okay, or if you have something criminal record or some background, that details we never collect, or if we collect also, that details we don't use for giving any kind of personalized things. Okay, so these are some examples, but again it depends on use case to use case. What kind of, if you are interacting with the customer, okay, customer care, and we are recording your voice, your conversation, right? On that conversation also we run analytics, and we see if there are any cross sell and upsell opportunities, because ultimately as a bank, okay, we look at, like within this conversation, whether you have shown any kind of interest for a home loan, or a credit card or something like that, because I need to search for opportunity, right? Ultimately it's a business. So within the conversation, whatever it is, like what we store, we run analytics and we see whether this particular customer is interested for a home loan or a car loan or probably a credit card. And then our RM, okay, at the back end, they approach that customer. Hey, sir, looks like you are looking for a home loan or something like that. Would you be interested? So that is an intelligence for us, right? And that intelligence we are getting by running the analytics on your customer care calls, or wherever you fill up a form or whatever you do, and the information goes to the bank. Yeah, so these are some examples.
So you said that the data that is collected is usually sensitive and confidential, and you don't always use it. But if it's used, how do you ensure customer privacy or the data protection, and how can you improve that?
Yes, so nowadays, I mean, because every bank or even fintechs today, banks are already, every financial institution here in India are under the regulation of RBI, which is called Reserve Bank of India. And is the Reserve Bank of India has already these guidelines. Okay, so what you can use, what you cannot use, and all other things. Apart from that, and it applies to any country, by the way, because in any country, if you go, all other banks are actually under the guidance or supervision of their central banks. Okay. And all the central banks, they also have their own regulations, and they will have to abide by. Otherwise, they will incur a lot of fine, or even the Reserve Bank or the central bank may cancel their license. Okay, so those things are there. So it is we do that, but at the same time, within the bank also there are standards. Okay, so what data you can use, if you, how you can actually protect the data, do encryption, okay, do data localization so that your data don't cross the boundary of your border. Okay, while doing any kind of transaction, while putting it into any cloud-based system, you ensure that any personal information is not going. Okay, some generic information is going, which is not harmful. So those kind of measures are already been there. Okay, because without that, I mean, they will not allow you to put your system into any kind of banking system, because banking is a highly regulated area. It is a highly focused area in terms of regulation and all other things. Even the GDPR, okay, the data protection GDPR, which is very popular in Europe and many other countries. Now there is a GDPR mini version of GDPR in India also. So as per GDPR, we also have to comply all our application as per the data protection law, GDPR law. And in that, there are things like what data you can collect, for how many time you will be collecting, whether you can cascade this data to other systems. So you are collecting probably customer data for a purpose, okay? But without his permission, you cannot use this data for other purposes, okay? And also right to forget, okay? At any point of time, okay, whenever he says, now you forget my data, you should delete all his data from your all systems. Okay, and also whenever he is giving you data, any customer, he is not giving you for whole life. Okay, he is giving you for a time frame. So probably for 2 years you can use my data, and that too for this specific purpose. So those things are now getting very tightened. Okay, and be sure that in most of the cases, even not by accident, any of your personal data is getting used.
Right, sir. And Mohit, sir, what are your views on this?
On particular to AI in finance or specific.
In particular to AI and finance, yes.
All right. Again, so AI as a very big technology we apply almost everywhere. AI in finance, education, maybe in healthcare. Lot of factors are there. A lot of industries we are trying to apply AI, and so in finance, as as we know, like one example Utpal sir has given, that we can check whether we need to or bank need to give loan to one person or not, right? Or whether they need to decline the loan application, right? So this is one application, one use case. Another one could be, for example, to detect some frauds, right? So fraud detection could be another example. So recently, what happened is I made a transaction, and this transaction got. I mean, I wanted to make a transaction of 40,000 rupees, and somehow it detected 3 times. This transaction happened for 3 times, and then immediately I got a call from my bank that did you made this transaction. So one thing that I mean, I know that this kind of things happens. So they regulate each transaction. So what they, I mean, this is generally how they do is they see if this transaction follows some rules, for example, or some features. If you are making transactions normal, if your normal transaction is around, let's say, 20,000, 50,000, or 100,000, or even 2 3 lakh, and suddenly, let's say, you got a transaction of 15 lakh or 20 lakh, then kind of a flag, right? It means that either it could be someone is trying to put money, or maybe they can do a quick call to confirm if this is a legit transaction. And similarly, there can be other factors. For example, your location. If you are mostly doing your transaction based on a particular location, let's say Delhi, and suddenly at the same time you there's another transaction happened at in Chennai, then it might lead to flag that, hey, how you can do true transaction almost with no time difference, right? One transaction you have done in just 5 minutes ago at Delhi, and then another transaction you're doing at in Chennai. So another possibility that they can see, okay, this is one flag, right? And similarly, a lot of possible cases where they check features in machine learning, or on AI terminology, we call these things as features. They can check features that which feature matches to normal transaction. And the fraud detection is kind of an application where very few transaction would be flagged as fraud. Mostly 99.99% transaction would be normal transaction. And to check whether your machine learning or AI model is doing a good job, what generally is done is cascading of models. So there are multiple models that is being applied. For example, the first model is saying that, hey, I'm 98% sure that this transaction is fraud, but I'm still not 99.999% sure. So I will send this data to, let's say, another machine learning model. Okay, this model says that, hey, I'm 99% sure that this transaction can be fraud, but still I'm not very confident that this would be a fraud. So the transaction, if it is a flag transaction, or it is a let's say anomaly transaction, so this goes from multiple machine learning model, and each model says that this can be fraud or not fraud, give some probability. It gives you some probability. And if the manager or the data scientist, if they are sure that, okay, now we are sure that this would be a fraud, so they can claim that this is a fraud. Even after, let's say, after applying 4 or 5 or different 6 models, if you are not getting enough probability that this transaction can be fraud, then at the end there would be a human supervisor who actually manually calls you to understand whether you made this transaction or this transaction is a fraud or not. So something like this can be done to detect fraud transactions. And so this is one example where in finance, where data science or the machine learning AI can be used. Another one, I think I saw one example. If we can, I saw a question in chat. If we can apply machine learning or data science or AI in stock prediction. So yes, it is possible to predict stock price, but stock price is depend on a lot of other factors as well. It not only depend on some technical analysis, it also depend on some various factor that is happening around you. For example, maybe a global economy, what's happening in US, what's happening in India, what's happening in China, what's happening in politics, what's happening because of the elections, because of the bills, because of the rules. Lot of things actually factors or impact the stock price. So the idea is you can do a basic stock price prediction, but it would be very difficult because there are a lot of outside factors that impact the stock price. So yeah, we can do little bit on maybe technical analysis. We can find, okay, this is the support, this is the resistance, all these things we can do, but there are a lot of outside factors that impacts the price of a stock. And one more example in finance is personal finance, or maybe where a chatbot type of model can give you some idea on how to save money, how to save taxes, how to use the money that you have judicially or something like that, you can do with kind of again NLP based application or a chatbot. So I think these are few applications that I remember right now. Yep.
Yeah, so just to add what Mohit has said, so very correctly. So these are the fraud detection is one of the major use case in banking and finance. So here essentially what Mohit is telling, I am just adding to that only. So normally this used to be a rule-based kind of a system initially, wherein there were a lot of rules coded into your coding. So I think most people knows coding, right? So it is coded, but now you require an adaptive model. Okay, adaptive model means, I mean, if some kind of fraudulent activities are happening, these fraudsters, they are also evolving. They are also coming up with newer and newer techniques, right? Because they knows what are the banking systems actually detect. Okay, so they come up with something which can go under the radar of the banking system. So that's why it is very difficult. And there are many types of frauds. In fact, it is the fraudulent field is very, even anti-money laundering, AML, is also comes under fraudulent activities, wherein the illegitimate wealth is coming into your legitimate system like a bank and going cross-border, okay, for any kind of terrorist funding or any kind of drug trafficking or human trafficking or a lot many other political running political campaign and all other things. So how to detect this kind of things? Okay, so the current way is basically they will model all the behavior of different users, different devices, and different all those things. So as Mohit indicated, like you as an individual, okay, something your behavior has been templatized. So this is your normal behavior. Okay, so normally what you do after getting a salary, so on third of every month, your house loan EMI goes, then you send some money to your parents, then probably your credit card EMI goes, okay, and then you send some money to your sister or brother. So this is your normal pattern, okay. So it will automatically model this normal pattern. Now one day, okay, once in a blue moon, you started transacting to Ukraine, that too at midnight, okay. So although it could be a legitimate transaction, but it will automatically highlight because this is abnormal behavior. Okay, so you as an individual never send any money outside. Okay, how you have started sending some that to Ukraine? Some suspected countries are there. Okay, or some countries where actually I mean it is highlighted as a suspected countries. So you are sending, so automatically it will detect. And those are also examples. So right now you have done a transaction from Delhi and suddenly you started transaction from some other this thing. So it could be anything. I mean, these are some examples. Okay, any abnormal behavior it will highlight, and then they will do an assessment of that because again they don't want to give a false alarm to a customer. Okay, so that is also a bad experience, right? So they will do the assessment in various ways, and ultimately they will come up with, okay, no, this is actually a fraudulent transaction or something. Then it will be highlighted and it will be tagged as a fraudulent transactions. Coming to the next topic, also very interesting, like uh, in the stock. So the robo advisors. So stocks, I am not telling about the normal stocks. So robo advisors are already there in the market. Okay, and these are doing great job. In fact, these are replacing all your human advisors. So today you don't require a 30 years old human advisor, okay, who has got experience into investment, and he can advise invest in this portfolio so that you can get maximum benefit. So it is not required. Why? Because that 30 years experienced guy, probably he can go through, say, probably 10 newspapers every morning, okay, collecting some news from different places, how the market is going on, what are the international things happening, what are the political turmoils going on, okay, is there any kind of, I mean, geographical turmoil going on, something like that. And depending on that experience, he's also doing the same thing in his brain, and he will do a guesswork, right? But here, for a AI model, it can interrogate thousands of data sources. It could be your social media data. It could be news data from, say, 100 top financial newspapers. Okay, it could be some trusted source of data, and it will churn out all the data. Okay, do all kind of what do you call permutation, combination, and all kind of modeling, statistical modeling, and machine learning, and that then you can then it can recommend you that, yeah, hey, go for this particular portfolio. Okay, probably this will give you the benefit. So of course this recommendation will be much more authentic and indicated than a normal human being. But having said that, it has not been able to because AI itself is probabilistic, right? It cannot be 100%. So that risk factor is there. Even though a robo advisor is advising you to invest somewhere, still you may incur some loss on there. The stock price may go down. So that is the thing. But now another important factor is coming up, because see, when you churn out humongous amount of data, so definitely that real time things are missing. Okay, so many of the cases it becomes postmortem. Okay, the things even happens, and then only we get the actual decision. Okay, to make it real time with those amount of humongous data, and that to do a parallel kind of a processing. Now quantum computer is coming and is coming soon, and it will substitute your machine learning. So QML, I mean models which runs on the quantum machine learning, so it can actually predict many things, many uh, times, many million times faster than the conventional even supercomputers, right? Because it has got the actual parallel processing mechanisms. So I think if it comes, okay, then it will actually it will be a paradigm shift in the field of stock market and all other things also, or wherever it requires optimization. Suppose you want to take 1,000 paths at a time and see which is the optimum path, right? So now in a classical computer, it could be any amount of speed you may apply it, but you will have to go one by one, right? It is not possible to go in a particular processor, in a microprocessor. You will not be able to go. But in a quantum processor, you can take all the 1,000 paths at a time and find out which is the optimum path, which is the kind of thing. So I think there will be a paradigm shift once quantum computer becomes it's adaptable. It is adapted in the industry in coming 4, 5, 6 years.
Thank you so much, sir. Ajay, sir, do you have any views on AI in finance? And like Utpal sir just mentioned, quantum computing.
Oh yes, totally. Like they both of them did like mention a lot of points that are like very important to be covered. And to add to more of their points, I would say another application would be more of towards it's fraud detection, but pretty much you do have like checking whether your check is all proper, whether your check hasn't been forged or anything. Like that is one such example. And like I've seen, like there have been a lot of companies been working towards verifying this. They've been working towards this KYC and towards verifying fraud detection such as this. And apart from that, this is not this application cannot exactly be just finance. Um, let's say you have an issue, and when you are complaining it, you're going to spend like 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes waiting for the caller to pick up your call so that you can submit your complaint. This is where again your personal assistants do come in, because as we mentioned previously, for AI for education, the same thing here. AIs can always be personalizable for you, so you can speed up your whole process of lodging a complaint or just getting financial advice. Anything you when you start bringing in more like AI assistants. And AI assistant for submitting complaints or getting like more inquiries has been popping up in many other like financial related fields. So that is one other application where you do see AI. And again, like again as it is mentioned, stocks cannot, yeah, you cannot exactly like predict stocks using AI yet. We aren't that far ahead as of now, and the features again do vary. Like for your AI to predict well, um, let's say like let me give you an example for maybe like try treating your model as okay as a child of something. So if you want to predict the stock, you will have to look at a lot of factors. You're going to look at how the company was performing previously, the company's loans, its relation to maybe other countries, the economy of the country, and everything. So how would you understand and how would you model your understanding as an input to the AI? So once we are able to break through that part, maybe we would be able to like definitely get more improvements in the field of arts. But right now they do serve as pretty good advisors. Like they can always give you their opinion, and it's up to you whether or not you take it up. Like it's never, you cannot put your full faith into it right now, but you can always consider their opinion.
Thank you so much, sir, for that answer. I would just like to remind the audience that we'll be taking up the questions towards the end of the session. So we will note down your questions and we'll be asking them later on. My next question is so you spoke of uh, accuracy with the database, or let's talk about security. So AI can use CCTV cameras to identify criminals, but how accurate will this be? How accurate is this decision made by the AI that the person they have seen is a criminal and not just a regular person who happens to look like that person? So how do you ensure the person's safety in that? Ajay sir, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, sure. That again, that boils down to the data you use, because inherently, looking at our history as human beings, we've always been biased to something or another. Bias is something that has been come with us ever since ever since day one. We've always had like some sort of bias to one thing or another, and it's just and the kind of data we select will project the kind of bias we have into the model. So this will again depend on how data is being collected, what sort of data is being collected, how diverse your data is, and the quality of data. So yeah, it is purely based on the data part, because for a model to wrongly classify an information like an event into a crime or something, it's going to be because it is biased towards a certain object or a certain event happening by that certain person. So it's more on the data side of things.
Mohit sir, what is your take on this?
All right. So example could be how we detect some activities that are not normal. For example, in a grocery store, if there's one person who is who looks like a suspect, so there can be motion detection, human activity trackers, face recognition. For example, if that person is in the criminal list, the AI cameras or the smart cameras can obviously find faces and detect faces and then recognize that, hey, whose face is this, right? Since like as a, if you talk about as a government organization, they have the information, they have the Aadhaar cards, they have the uh, all the information about us, right? Uh, People. So and obviously they can put some people on their hit list. They can put some people that, hey, we want to identify these people wherever we find, where we have a lot of security cameras in our city, and wherever we find these people, if let's say there are 100 securities cameras in city, and 100 securities cameras flag that, okay, these are the people, and they have some again machine learning model, AI model, all these deep learning model, they work on probability. They give the, they sometimes they give the explanation why this person I'm flagging 99% I'm giving 99% probability, that why I'm thinking, why model is thinking that hey, this person look like a suspect or a terrorist or a thief, right? So there can be a lot of cameras in city, and these cameras can provide feedback, doing some calculation, doing some doing like, or predicting, evaluating on different models. For example, one model could be on just face recognition, identifying whether that this person is suspect or not. There can be other models that find whether the posture or the activity that person is performing, whether the intent of that person is to rob the bank, or whether that person is carrying a gun or a knife, or things like that. Maybe can easily be done using AI with computer vision, which is again a subset of artificial intelligence. So and I think we can have some sufficient data to train the model on 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 uh, on on images of people, on some activities that are not regular activities. So I think yes, we there can be some examples where we can consider the security, and even these securities cameras can then give alert, or maybe raise an alarm, or maybe automatically do an emergency call to police station if they flag that hey, there is some activity, or maybe a crime that is happening, or maybe some activities, maybe an accident, and where people are not stopping to call emergency center. Cameras can automatically identify that okay, there is an accident, and let's automatically suggest, or automatically give alarm or call to police station or emergency center, so that hospitals can, or maybe ambulance can be called, or they can be quick. They can do find the people, or things like that can be done. So yeah, these are a few examples where security can be considered and AI can be applied on the security side.
So basically, all of it boils down to the model's accuracy in predicting if this person is
Correct.
a criminal or not. Right.
Correct.
Utpal sir, how about you? Like, what are your views on this?
Yeah, so I don't know whether you guys have read that news couple of years back. I think 3, 4 years back. Okay, so there was a music event. Okay, of a very big star, Chinese star. I think his name was also Jackie Chan, not that actor. Okay, his name was also like Jackie Chan or something. I don't remember exactly. So there was in Hong Kong there was a very big music event was happening, and the security personnel from basically from China, they Hong Kong and China together, they suspected that some of the criminals that they are tracing out or looking for, they probably will come to that music event. Okay, and in the entrance, okay, where all ticket checking and all those things happens. So these are all automated, right? It's like your what do you call boarding pass of a flight. Okay, so you just go and show the card there, and automatically you the get opens. So there they put that those kind of cameras, and they connect it with the AI systems, right? And they were been able to identify six such criminals. Okay, and they were been able to arrest it. So that means these systems are pretty accuracy are pretty high, right? I mean, once you do it, but that again depends on, I mean, country to country. Okay, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever may be the reason, the best computer vision system today uh, is uh, is with not with US, it is with China. Okay, the best drone technology is not with US, it is with China. Okay, so I think in the application side, China has done great advancement there. And on the computer vision side, they have got amazing things. In fact, amazing things. Probably the implementation side, they have gone beyond the expectation. So it is there. And some of the examples that I happen to work on one of those kind of projects. It is basically for the ATM and locker security. Okay, so just by looking at the CCTV footage, okay, the AI algorithms can automatically identify whether there is a human intrusion or there is an animal intrusion inside the ATM. Because in many villages in India, it happens like cows, buffaloes, dogs, they enter into the ATM machine. Sometimes the buffaloes try to destroy the ATM machine also. So or somebody is carrying any kind of weapon, some gun, okay, or some kind of this thing. So always, I mean, so the accuracy level depends. Sometimes if somebody carries a small umbrella also, sometimes it gives a false alarm, okay, and it tells it's kind of a weapon. So those things are there. But apart from that, I mean, pretty 90-95% accuracy rate in terms of if somebody is trying to destroy your ATM, or if somebody is fighting with your security guard inside the ATM, okay, or somebody is trying to tamper with your locker gates and all those things, can be easily detected today. So systems are such highly highly efficient today. And I think in a couple of more years, now, I think it is going to be, I mean, it will be very difficult for anybody to do any kind of criminal activities until and unless he does any kind of plastic surgery. It will be very difficult for him to go to malls and all those things, because all the malls, public places, government places will be under surveillance of CCTV cameras, and those CCTV cameras will be definitely be integrated with AI kind of system. And those days are not far. Okay, so if somebody does any kind of crime, no, only way is to do some kind of a plastic surgery, change his face, and then only you'll be able to be there in the public places.
Right, sir. And so when we talk about identifying like this, it's uh, the person's privacy, and if someone is wrongly accused of being a criminal, so a person's civil rights come into question. So how do you deal with that? Like, what's the next step after someone has been wrongly identified as a criminal? Like,
It is
how do you
there.
prevent that again?
You see, it is there now. I mean, for normal also. I mean, human also. It happens. Okay, many a times these agencies, okay, security agencies, wrongly identify some human who are not actually criminals. Okay, and they go up to the extent that some people are been declared by the court also that he is a criminal. So that happens in normal cases also, but those are exceptions. Probably one in many millions, right? So same thing can happen with AI also, because it is a probabilistic kind of a system. It is always a probability, so it can also go wrong, to answer your question. And whatever measures we may take, okay, but out of 1 billion, it can always go. Okay, even after taking whatever measures you can take. Like for normal judiciary system also, it happens.
Right. Thank you, sir. So maybe we can move into a slightly different topic now, responsible development of AI. So, for example, AI it's so developed now that one can easily make deep fakes on their mobile phones, and this can cause conflicts. So, but unfortunately, a large population of the country remains unaware that there is technology like this. So, how do we tackle the problem of deep fakes? Uh, Ajay, sir, would you like to answer this one?
Yes, yeah. So um, I would say, yeah. I mean, you there has been more of like work going on in terms of predicting deep fakes. I remember this startup. I think it is Facebook or something. I'm not sure what exactly it is called. So they recently like hit the headlines. That is back in 2020 during the election, U.S. elections, for detecting a large number of deepfakes with their AI. So they usually, yeah. So it's more of the kind of how you train everything. And right now, and compared to how we had it in like 2015 or 2016, and all, right now it's a lot. I would say it's a lot more. You cannot like it's still a difficult problem at hand, but you have like a lot more resources to solve it now compared to how things were back then. Like you definitely have more of AI work towards deep fake detection. Apart from that, I would say another issue could be this has been like a more of there was this recent paper I think on how people were able to use a neural network's weights, use a neural network to give back the kind of face data, the face recognition, face data that is trained. As in, you can just like let the model output the kind of images that it was used for training, and that kind of like broke the whole AI for privacy setting, like the whole facial recognition part itself. Because this, so I would say like there has been like work has been going on completely towards fixing the whole thing. But we've also like we've been like gaining a lot of understanding towards generator based neural networks, and we and there has been like work being done in order to prevent it. We had like companies work on it.
Right, sir. Mohit, sir, what are your views on this?
All right. So There are some disadvantages of this, and one need to be understand, or even any organization or a company, if they are creating AI based model, they need to understand, or there are some ethics of creating softwares, ethics of using technologies. So we need to understand what are the responsibilities of using AI models. So if we have the power, we also have the responsibility to use that power in a right manner, uh, considering the safety and maybe consider safety of everyone. Like recently, I even like it's not that deepfake is used only for as in bad practices, but recently I saw an example of let's say a generative adversarial where in as a like cat there's in Diwali there's a Cadbury celebration ad, and so what was there in the ad is people can actually change it. For example, there was the Shah Rukh Khan, and he was inviting people to buy some sweets from your nearby stores, and these stores can actually put their name so that Shah Rukh Khan speaks their store, right? So something like that can also be used. It's not that always it's bad practice to do in AI, but yeah, we need to understand that there are some there needs to be proper ethics. There needs to be proper rules that finding that what is wrong, what is right, and like even after doing everything, there are some chunk of or a few people we cannot control over them. So I think that is like the proper exception. We cannot do much about it, but majority of the thing we will be able to do, we will be able to complete, right? But as an organization, they need to understand that there are some ethics. If you are creating an AI based model, if you are using a technology, then there are some like rules or regulations that you need to follow. So yes, I mean this
Sir, we'd like to hear from you as well.
Yeah, so yeah, correctly, both Ajay and Mohit told. So, see, there are two things here. One is ethics, of course, and ethics is a vector because you cannot quantify ethics. Okay, neither you can control ethics. So there is no definition of ethics. Okay, there is no concrete rule for ethics. But the second thing is regulation. Okay, which you can definitely put and you can control some things that can happen into this area. So now each technology, okay, whatever technology it may be, it comes with a humongous amount of power. Okay, the power in terms of possibilities to change the entire humanity, solve the problems, okay, which we have been struggling for so many years. At the same time, it can come with a lot of dangers, right? If not used in a particular way. So when we call about ethics within an organization, definitely the ethics and all those things you can apply, you can have some guidelines and people will follow it. Okay, because for the sake of their job, they will definitely do it. But when it comes to governance or when it comes to regulation, so there is a huge gap. Okay, and there is a challenge also that we need to understand pretty well. That is essentially uh, sometimes it may happen just for the sake or just for the name of putting some kind of a regulation on a disruptive technology like AI. Okay, you can actually stop the growth of the research and R&Ds or the revolution or the transformation that is going on, right? So that's why the regulators and the technology people should be at par as per their understanding and all these things. But unfortunately, what is happening? There are no forums or very few forums available wherein the regulators and this technology people can actually sit and discuss these things. Okay, so which is a huge challenge. That's the reason that the regulators are actually far behind in terms of understanding, in terms of their competence. Okay, unfortunately, uh, uh, in terms of the technological explosion that has happened in last 2 decades. So they are far behind, and we need to bring them up to a level, okay, wherein they actually understand the technology and they can frame the regulations so that It can encourage the technology development also. At the same time, can stop anything bad that is going to happen or that is happening, right? And this is a real challenge across the globe. I'm telling you, it is not only in India or somewhere. It is a challenge. The reason behind that is the technological innovations or technological explosions. You can see it is not happening within government or government bodies. Where it is happening either in the academia or in the enterprises. So companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and a lot of many kind of and universities like MIT, Stanford, they are only these technological innovations are happening. New technologies are coming. Okay, so this is not under the control of government. Government is completely outside. Government research organization nowadays innovations are not happening. Earlier it used to happen in GRDO and all, right? In defense research in all countries. So that's why there is a huge gap when it comes to regulation and the technology, right? And that gap needs to be filled up. I don't know when it will be filled because there are no forums and nothing. Ethics is one part which you can just say, hey guys, you follow these, okay? These are guidelines, okay? But you cannot stop this. Okay, it is their discretion. They can they can listen to your ethics. They cannot produce. So this is a big kind of a thing. So regulation should come to stop them, and it will come. I am hoping. Okay, let's see.
That was really insightful, sir. Now I think we can move into some questions on healthcare, another another field of AI. So my question would be, we can implement AI to monitor the general health of the public. So can such a system track the symptoms or hygiene among the public? Mohit, sir, would you like to answer this one?
Can you repeat your specific question?
Yes. So AI can be used to monitor the general health of the public, but can it be used to track symptoms or hygiene among the public as well?
All right. So, yeah. So, AI in healthcare, again, a lot of examples are there. So, one such example is let's say that after a test is done, maybe any let's say any radiology test, X-ray or MRI or CT scan or any test is done, doctors need to read that report, right? They need to read that maybe X-ray film or the MRI film, right? And then create the report, right? The paper report that we generally get. So AI can be used to do this task automatically, right? To automate this, creating the reports, understanding how X-ray or the MRI or different tests are done, and hence this can be used. So maybe with one, it will save a lot of time. So there will not be one domain expert or a doctor who is very senior doctor need to be there to create the reports. So as soon as tests are done, in just maybe 5 to 10 minutes, reports will also be ready. So this is one example where AI in healthcare is can be used, and lot of other examples. I do remember. I mean, I have some of my friends who work in healthcare sector, and so there are a lot of companies who are that they are applying. For example, creating new drugs or creating new medicines is one example where we can apply AI. For example, let's say creating some complex formula of a new medicine, and again these medicines can then be tested on multiple people. So over there, testing and static testing, all these factors will come into picture. So yeah, I mean, this is one example where we can use AI.
Utpal, sir, any other uses of AI in healthcare?
Yeah, in healthcare, there are many. Okay, so as Mohit said, these are some known examples. Okay, any kind of CT scan, MRI, and all other things, wherein detection of any kind of cancer and even drug research is one area, because normally that's why, I mean, the vaccine that you are getting in 1.5 years, it is only because of this latest technologies, right? Because many of the trials that you can do in a simulated environment before you pass on to animal trial and human trial, right? And this can be done in a very faster time. And that's the reason a vaccine that used to take 10 to 15 years, now we are getting in 1.5 years or 2 years max, right? So these are some examples. But apart from that, also there are many examples, or many things are happening on the healthcare. For example, elderly care, right? So elderly people, mostly in outside countries. Okay, they are staying alone. Okay, so with nobody, right? So how to continuously monitor their health conditions? Okay, so they have got wearable devices, right? And also monitoring systems. So with that, whenever there's morning in the morning itself, if they just step into the weight machine, automatically the weight machine can check his weight. Along with that, it can check his blood pressure, heartbeat, and all other things, right? And all other very critical parameters. And it can always keep on sending those to the healthcare providers. Okay. And if there is something alarming, automatically these wearable devices can send notification to the healthcare providers and also his nearest and dearest ones. Okay. So normally in India, it doesn't happen because in India, mostly the elderly people are used to be there, taken care by their families. But in US and many other places, you will see, I mean, mostly the elderly people are alone, right? I mean, nobody is there because their sons, daughters, they have got their own families and they don't stay together. So that is the culture they have. So there it is very important. And here it can do. And there are a lot of portable machines there. Okay, so like many of the body parameters, they can, like with a pinch of blood putting into the machine, the machine can analyze actually all kind of test parameters, his conditions, or kind of thing, and it will continuously fit those data to the healthcare provider. And healthcare provider, they have got their separate machine, which is actually churning out those data. Okay, and if something abnormalities or something like that, they will call him that, hey, you can come to the hospital visit and you can do this test. If it is an emergency, then healthcare providers will send their ambulance and something like that to there. So that is also a very big use case, and it is already happening in many of the countries. Coming to the public health that you, or public hygiene, public health kind of things. Yes, so they are already, these have been implemented in many of the big hospitals kind of thing, because I think probably it will take some time to come to a smart city kind of a environment wherein actually you can see some of the hygiene things and some of the health related things, or whether people are following some standards during pandemic or something like that. It will take some time to come into a smart city, because in a smart city also similar kind of use cases are there, right? So but in hospitals, it has already been implemented. Okay, so wherein they can actually monitor whether those health guidelines had been followed into different wards and different operation theaters, and all other things are there or not. If it is not, okay, that during those audits, okay, they highlight those things, and there will be action items, and they will try to rectify those in their next course of action. So that is already been there in many of the big hospitals. It is happening.
Ajay, sir, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Some of the other applications could be. So I recently read about how I think it is New York University alongside Facebook research, and like they were trying to replicate, like get CT scans of people itself, like using AI. And this was apparently performing a lot faster than any like device used for CT scan. But they are kind of more working towards fine tuning, like making it perfect, towards making it perfect. So this is one such application. Like uh, anything like related to generation of an output, generation of an X-ray or something, you can always, AI can always be a future for that, because if it can understand what is happening, then it should be able to reproduce it. And then secondly, I would say like you have access to a lot of medical data, but you are not exactly making use of all that to train your AI models itself. So that is where I think data mining has been happening towards. It has been like you've been like bringing in more data in order to like train their AI models. in order to like make things more accurate. I think I saw a question on chat that said thoughts about AI replacing doctors. So you cannot. So the answer is no, and because for example, say you are like AI can. This is more of a high risk, high reward application, right? Like you have a lot of low risk applications where you can always be okay. For example, whether or not it will just rain today, given the weather conditions. If it rains, then cool. Like worst case, if it rains, you can find a shelter somewhere. If it doesn't rain, but the AI predicts it as rain, then it's still well and good. You just went and prepared for rain. But you cannot say the same when it comes to cancer. Like if your AI mispredicts, like, if your AI predicts that you don't have cancer and you actually do end up having it, then it could be an issue for you in the long run when you take another test a couple of months later because your cancer could have just progressed to its later stage. So I don't think AI can replace doctors. You still like AI can give insights to the doctors, but doctors will always have the final word. They will have the final word because they always have the domain experience. And again, doctors will also have. I would say you would always get more of that human sentiment from a doctor. So so I don't think the chances of AI replacing a doctor is going to happen anytime soon. Yeah. And apart from that, you do have like surgical, like you have robots. Yeah, you have more of robots which work towards bringing in. For example, say you do have like operations and everything, and I think this did become like pretty popular. This became a thing in social media as well, like using a robot to perform a surgery. So they do help. Like they make the process a lot more precise for the doctor. But again, you cannot exactly replace a doctor yet because only a doctor knows how things work in an emergency situation. An AI can and might make a mistake on that emergency scenario, whereas a doctor cannot. So that is one application. And then you also have drug discovery, drug discovery and design. For example, AlphaFold recently became a thing because I think DeepMind was able to like break through the whole protein folding thing recently, and you can always use AI as a tool of simulation in order to like combine multiple components, like compounds, in order to see whether a drug is viable or not. And an AI would be able to like understand it more because an AI could understand the basic characteristics of every drug, and it should be able to give us proper insights on what would happen if we are able to like combine so and so drugs. So yeah, you have more of the application related ones, and you also have more of research related applications such as the drug discovery and research. And stuff.
So, you spoke of experience and intuition of the doctors on making the final call, say in surgery instead of having robots. Do you think a robot can be trained to perform surgery and take calls like a doctor, or is that a little far-fetched?
It is far fetched because it's not like it depends on how you train your robot and everything. And again, as humans in general, we would feel a lot more at ease if we also have a doctor in the same room we are being operated on compared to like to seeing a robot working on your body. That will take some time at least.
Right, sir. I think we can move into our audience questions now. We do have a lot of questions from our audience in the chat box. So I'll go over them one by one and we can have a discussion on that. So one of our questions, uh, so sorry, yes. So one of our questions is, would you say it is possible to use AI in our justice system, or will humans be more effective in this? Or would their lack of empathy backfire?
It's not lack of empathy exactly as the issue. It will definitely be more on the data that is being used by the AI. Like anything machine learning in general, Like what people do look at is training the models, whereas what you should really be looking at is what the data you use to train the model. Because you might, I mean, there have been a lot of incidents where there might have been a wrong verdict given to the audience, and that could have like penalized them for life. So, in one way or another, you are going to be sending some of that data into your AI. So automatically your AI is going to be biased. It's going to be more biased towards a certain like, group of people, a certain skin color. Anything can happen. So yeah, right now the issue is not with AI lacking empathy or something. It's more on us because in our history we have not exactly given the best decisions most of the time.
Utpal sir, would you like to add something to this?
Okay, so here there are two things, because in many of the questions, okay, that we keep on getting is essentially whether AI can take this autonomously or AI cannot take this autonomously. So so there are in legal system there are two things, and I'll give you an example which is very similar to the legal system also in regulatory things. Okay, so RBI, for example, has a lot of regulations. Okay, and many regulations. So it is very time consuming, and it is very difficult to actually find out a particular step or a decision that you have been taking, whether it has got any kind of regulatory implications. Right. So now you can do it by putting hundreds of people. Okay, they will go through. There are experts. You can do it. Okay, and sometimes those kind of critical scenarios arises, right? But you have another way. Okay, so you can utilize AI or leverage AI to do that work. Probably it will do in 1 hour. Okay, and give you the outcome. Now decision is on the human. Right. So similarly in legal things also, mostly what is happening is, so a particular case, okay, it has got many nitty-gritties, right? And you have to see whether it falls under the boundary of different regulations. So that is number one. Number two, you also need to see whether in the past any kind of similar verdicts has been given or not. Okay, and if we give this kind of a verdict, what will be the implication for that? And if you consider all those factors, AI can give you a report in probably 10 minutes. Okay, that this is a dashboard. In dashboard, these are positive negatives. These are the things, and it can give you some recommendations also. That this case probably will go in favor of this particular person. Okay, and now the decision is always with the human, with the judge. So that's why it is always told that AI will be used as a second pair of eyes. Okay, for a doctor or for a lawyer or for a research analyst or whoever it is. It is just a second pair of eyes. Okay, it cannot directly replace that person, because still we don't want AI to be so much autonomous that it overrules us. It can give us guidance, it can give us information, it can give us insights. Okay, and that's the beauty of AI. We don't want it to overrule us, kind of a thing. So in any cases, it is like that, exactly the same, whether it is in legal or whether it is in finance, whether it is in anything. AI will give you the recommendations. Hey guys, see, this is the truth. This is the truth as per your past data. Okay, this is not an assumption. So normally in most of the cases, when we take any kind of decision, we make use of a lot of assumptions, and assumptions can always go wrong, right? The beauty of AI is basically it will give you all kind of analysis on your past data, and data means which is actual thing that has happened in the past. So always it will put forward the fact in front of you. Now it is your choice how to utilize that fact in your decision making.
Thank you so much, sir. Satvik, I hope that answers your questions. I would like to just put this out that if anyone has any questions, they can raise their hands so we can give you the permission to unmute and you can ask the speakers the questions. Till then, I will move on to our next question. So, Ashraf has asked, with the increasing innovation in these times, we see prosthetic limbs, usage of cybernetic limbs in Cyberpunk 2077 game, replacing humans with robots everywhere. Is there a chance a combination of AI and ML leading to a similar future?
This is not an AI application exactly, but you would say. I mean, prosthetic limbs. Why? Like, it's at the end of the day, it's just an engineering. It's an engineering problem more than an AI problem um, because you just need access to control your hand. That's all. You're going to be its owner. You don't give like an AI is just an external agent that'll give you decisions. That will like make decisions for you. That will perform actions. When it comes to your body, it's just going to be you making those decisions. So I don't think it's needed right now. You don't have to like bring an AI to it like that. Or maybe I'm missing the question. I'm not sure. So you can rephrase it.
Like one more small thing I want to add is the goal of AI is not to replace human. I think even anywhere like in the justice system, judiciary, or even uh, as engineers, or maybe talk about healthcare, the goal of AI is to assist humans, right? For example, before electricity, when electricity was not discovered, people thought that with electricity there would be a lot of things that can easily be done, and now jobs would not be required for people, right? Electricity can do automatically a lot of things. Similarly, now right now AI is very new technology at this point of time. Right now, we have not discovered. Literally, we are just in the surface of AI. There are a lot of things in AI that need to be discovered. So we are just thinking that AI can do this. But sometimes AI is not matured enough to replace even a 2-year-old baby. So 2-year-old baby has more intelligence than the AI that we are talking about right now. So, like, we don't know the future of AI in the next 20, 30, 50 years right now, but definitely AI is not going to replace human. They are not. Always remember that human expertise, domain knowledge is required to perform any AI task. To train a model, to train any agent, you need to be present to, you need to understand that if it is working in a right, going in a right direction or not. For example, self-driven car has already been built by Google, Uber, Tesla, but still they are not giving full control to self-driven car. You need to be there to maybe you can the car can automatically take care of the steering angle, but still everything is not automated still yet, right? So human presence would be required. So it's not that AI or robots are going to replace humans all the places.
So it's like Utpal sir said, a second pair of eyes, basically. AI can be like a second opinion
Correct,
on things.
correct.
Right. We have another question. Can artificial intelligence be hacked?
So
Utpal sir, would you like to take this one?
Yes, please. So yeah, when we say hacked, I mean there could be many things. So there is something called data poisoning. Okay, so probably many people knows that data poisoning is kind of a activity. If I can somehow get the control of your training data, okay, with which you are training the model or retaining the model time to time, I can poison that data with some malicious data, and automatically your model that you are using AI model will give wrong results and wrong things. Okay, which can have a huge implication. Okay, so if it is for credit, so probably all the uncredit worthy people are getting loans. Okay, and all good people are not getting loans. Okay, it could be in a medical scenario. Okay, they can actually jeopardize the thing, right? Okay, if it is for space science or anything kind of thing, critical things, it can really jeopardize the thing if they can somehow okay retrain your model or incrementally train your model with some malicious data or malicious this thing. So this data poisoning things are already there, and it is a threat kind of a thing. So this is kind of hijacking. Okay, and you will probably not know immediately. Okay, if you are not monitoring your system, your AI model very closely, okay, you will not know. I mean, it is already giving some wrong things. Okay, and it has already done some damage, and then only you will identify that it has done that damage. So that is a big threat. And other things are like you need not have to hack the AI models. Okay, you can if you are a fraudster or if you are a cyber criminal or whoever it is. I mean, you can build your model. Okay, with that model you can do a lot of things. So it is essentially how it happens. So, in case of cyber security, so I will give you some examples of the cyber security because I happen to work for a couple of big cyber security organizations as an advisor. So, uh, uh, in cyber security, okay. So now, if you look at the uh, entire the cyber security or the cyber fraud area, it's an organized crime. Okay, so they are not doing it for fun. So probably 10 years, 20, 12 years, 15 years back, people used to do this for fun. Okay, so I am hacking some machine or I'm sending a virus or something like that. So today's cyber crime is a organized crime. That means it is a business. It is a $1 trillion business, not $1 billion, huh? $1 trillion business in the world. Okay, and people are doing it for money. And these are professionals. These are intelligent people, as intelligent, probably more intelligent than normal data scientists. Okay, and many people are working from different areas. People are working from operating from darknet, okay, which is a place wherein basically all criminal activities, all those kind of things are happening. So what they will do? So if they have to say attack a bank, okay, or a financial organization or a big enterprise, they will study the security loopholes of that organization for years. Okay, not months, huh? Years they will study, and they will find out the entire whatever security loophole that you have within your organization, right? And then they will strategize their plan of action. Okay, also that will also take so much time and so much brain and all those things, and then only they will land the attack. Okay, so probably they will get hold of a very small security loophole in your enterprise or in your organization, and with that small security loophole, they can actually take control of your entire ecosystem. Okay, and then they will start asking you money. Okay, and now moving most of the applications into cloud, critical applications into cloud, the possibilities are going high. Although cloud has their own security and all, but possibilities are going high. So I think hacking a AI system is not required in that way, right? You can have many other ways. If you are a what do you call criminal mind, okay, I don't encourage criminal minds, but if somebody has that criminal mind and if he's doing some criminal activities, he himself can do lot many things out of that, and it's happening. As I told you, it is a business. It is a very big business. It's a very big industry, in fact.
Ajay, so what are your views on this? You muted,
On
sir.
yeah, on like security or
On this question about can AI be hacked and security, yes.
I mean, yeah. So AI being hacked is again like he had mentioned, it's more about the question like the aspect of data poisoning because AI, I would say from my point of view, an AI is just a kid. It's just a child. It's probably like 2 or 3 or even lesser. So what it learns is its environment. It's based on its environment. What you give it to, what you feed it. So if you are going to feed it like corrupted data, the extreme test cases, or like negative test cases itself, it's going to treat that as the right point of action, and it would like take that decision. So I would say that is probably the only way it can be hacked, and like or else like changing its whole weights itself is something I don't think we've exactly reached that far yet. In order to like go inside a neural network weight and then like change those weights around so that we can automatically make it predict all the extreme actions and everything. Like that has not yet happened so far.
Thank you, sir. Uh, We'll take up another question. So, who will be responsible for the mistakes that AI makes? Mohit, sir, would you like to answer this one?
So basically, the organization, for example, if there's a government organization who is creating a machine learning or AI model that can interact with people, and maybe or maybe it gives a false alarm, and people got impact because of that. So it is the again the responsibility of whole organization, not just one data scientist who write the code, but someone who designed the whole architecture, someone who designed this whole project, someone who creates this whole product, who is responsible for managing this whole product. So I think the organization would be responsible. Can just give you one very basic example. Let's say at amazon.com there is a recommendation system, and that recommendation, whenever you visit a product, whenever you visit, let's say, iPhone 11, it gives you the recommendation of another product which is very similar to iPhone 11. So if at at one odd day you're visiting iPhone 11 and suddenly it gives you the recommendation of groceries, then it is a fault, right? It should not behave like this, and this is, let's say, mistake of AI. Now who is responsible? Obviously those who have created this recommendation system, the team who is responsible, who is working on recommendation system product at Amazon. So this is one very basic example, but I think the mistakes in AI, these mistakes can be can cause some losses to amazon.com, but not a very big impact, as in not impact on human society, but there can be some mistakes on AI where it is causing impact on society and humans. That would be a bigger problem, in AI, rather than just taking this very basic or dummy type of example.
Right. Utva, so would you like to add something to this?
Yes. So actually, I think it depends on the situation to situation. Okay. If the implication is very what do you call destructive kind of a, or something which is like because of some bad, uh, it can be on uh, the level of the data scientist, or it could be the people who are maintaining the model. Okay, because data scientist, once he writes the code, okay, then it handovers this to the people who actually maintains it, right? And so probably the data scientist had already left the organization. Okay, he went somewhere else. Okay, and these people are maintaining this. Okay, these people are retraining this, or something happens, and then some kind of a very big thing happens, and the implication is huge. Okay, it could be life-threatening kind of a thing in some cases. Then it, I mean, it is very difficult to. Then it could be. I think for me, I think it could be the people who are maintaining it, right? Because till now it has been giving all everything okay, right? And somehow they have retained it, or somehow the model drift has happened. Okay, the model drift in the sense like when the performance level of the model goes down and it has not been monitored properly, and because of some that the implications that happen is of a very big impact. So in that case, it is like that. But when it comes to uh, whether it is the model AI or it is a human kind of a thing, it always goes to human. Okay, because whatever you are designing. Kind of thing, it is human designing, right? So you cannot, I mean, the piece of code, you cannot held responsible to a piece of code. Although we call it AI, okay, it has got a huge hype. So people think it's kind of a human. Okay, it is not human, it is also a piece of code. So you cannot held responsible to a piece of code, because I have seen some of the questions been imposed, like if you automated car, okay, autonomous car, it comes and it sees to one pregnant lady, okay, she is crossing the road, okay, and at another side, few people are standing, and it doesn't have any kind of control. Now either it has to hit the pregnant lady, or it has to hit few other. So this kind of complex scenarios, okay, I think even AI will be confused. So this is all situation based. I don't know. Probably the answer will be on the on case to case, of course. Yeah.
Vedansh, you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask a question? Vedansh, are you here?
Hello.
Okay. Yes.
AI can be replaced with any other technology.
Could you please repeat your question?
Yeah, I'm asking whether is there any chance to replace AI with any other technologies like Neuralink they were saying, so we can insert the chip in the brain and everyone became the robot like that. So is it possible? Or
Okay, so I can take this question probably. So what he's asking is probably tomorrow we can we can implant something in our brain and all those things, okay, and it can because see we already have a AI kind of a system. AI is inspired by us only. So neural network, what we talk is basically it is inspired by human neural system, whatever information that we have. And probably I don't believe that I mean human neural network system works exactly how artificial neural network works. It works in a completely different way. But still, whatever information today we have, I mean, on the basis of that only, we are trying to augment, okay, the human neural system in a semiconductor, okay, with programmatic manner, right? So that's what the use of artificial neural network. So, but any kind of devices which can be implemented. In fact, one company which is funded by Mr. CEO of Tesla. What is his name? I
Elon
forgot his
Musk.
name. Elon Musk. Yeah,
Elon
he has
Musk.
funded a company. So wherein they are trying to see, okay, because what happens like uh, our human systems, okay, how to interface between human and a machine on a neural level, okay, so that we don't require any kind of other organs to now how we interact or interface with the other systems, either through six senses or through some body parameters, some wearable devices, right? So but that company is trying to build an interface between our neural system and the machine, so that because human has a limitation, it can grasp a lot of information at a time. Okay, so inputs are very, very easy, but output is very, very limited. Okay, when you want to give some output, so if I am talking, I cannot talk at a time everything and give you all the information. Okay, like downloading something from a machine in your hard drive or in your pen drive. It is not possible right now, right? So, but I can take a lot of information at a time. Okay, so if I am driving, I am taking a lot of information at a time. I am processing those information. I am taking those decisions on the basis of information. So human intelligence is very good at getting inputs, but it is not that efficient or not that fast in terms of giving outputs. Okay, because if I have to give output, I will have to speak or I will have to show something. It is very, very slow. So what they are trying to do is basically if we can build an interface between human neural system, probably our visual cortex or somewhere, and we can connect the system there, that probably in 1 minute will download whatever is there in the brain. So that is their idea, and that's what they're trying to achieve. Okay, and probably there are other things also, but that is where they are. So I think a day will come because they it's a very hugely funded innovation that is going on actually in that company, and they have made some progress also. It is although it is very very expensive and very very complicated kind of a thing, but I am hopeful because see technology 50 years back, okay, was completely different, and today what we see is completely different. So we don't know after 50 years, probably it is possible they will be able to do something wherein within 1 minute they will download everything from your brain, whatever is there, okay, and they can use it for something.
I hope that answers your question. Uh, I believe it was Yugandhar who asked. I hope that answers your question. All right. We have a question in the chat box. Mohit, I think you can take this one. Do you think AI can be used in the admissions process for evaluating essays or extracurricular activities? For example, college admissions.
Yes, definitely. So, for example, let's say that recommending some colleges for your master's program, for example, if you want to, if you have some GRE scores, how much you have scored based in your undergrad, what research papers you have published, and some other, what is your work experience, what type of projects you have done. Based on all this information, let's say that we have to recommend some colleges that where you can actually apply for your master's program. And similarly, this model or this type of program is obviously already built. A lot of platforms actually use recommendation model where they can take input from you and then they can recommend some colleges. And on the other side, people or like colleges can also take your inputs. For example, your scores, or maybe your input can be in any form. Input can be in the text format, input can be in the value format, can be in the real number, can be in any format, right? Can be in the images, can be in the video format. The based on the inputs, they can obviously, since colleges or universities, or even like if you are talking about the extracurricular activities, let's say someone who plays football, someone who plays cricket. Now these can also be analyzed using AI, because there can be some AI model that can analyze how good you play to specific type of balls. For example, if you are getting a bouncer ball, how you have to play, how you have to move your head, or how you have to move your bat, right, or hand. Similarly, there can be different cases where your posture, where your actions can be analyzed, and let's say there is no human supervision, and there is only a camera or a smart camera or a AI based model, and this camera is understanding how you play to different, how you react to different balls, and you're playing cricket, let's say. And this can be analyzed to give, let's say, a score. For example, again, 7 out of 10, so you are okay, decent enough to pass the cutoff, and hence you can be, and you can get the admit from this college. I mean, this is one example. And similarly, examples can be on evaluating essays, evaluating SOPs, your LORs, your marks, your different inputs can be evaluated using AI, and extracurricular activities can also be evaluated. Yeah. So yes, we can use AI in the admission process.
Right. But what about something like, say, sometimes there might be something big that has happened in the person's family, and that causes their grades to slip. But despite all of that, they have still kept on going. Sometimes the admissions process may consider that over just a direct perfect 100 score or something like that. So, how does AI evaluate something like that?
I think that is where your SOP does come in, right?
Hmm.
They can
Right.
always talk about that incident. As an AI, if it has been trained well enough to understand all of that, it is going to weigh that incident a lot more and what the person did after that incident a lot more as well. So it should be able to make use of it.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, I'll have to drop off from these because I have got some other meeting in another 3 minutes. So I will beg pardon, and I thank you all for this lovely
Right.
session. Okay? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for joining us and taking time out to come here.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, sir. Pranjal, I see you have raised your hand. Would you like to ask a question?
I am a fresher. Is it possible to start making simple AIs from programs like Python or whatever, just to make like starter?
Totally, totally. It should be totally possible. It's not at all like um what yeah, the first step if you are looking to delve into the field is definitely going to be you have to pick up Python first. You have to be proficient enough with Python before you decide to like step into anything AI. Because this will be your framework, your ground for anything. And yeah, secondly, after that you'll have to like load up on your theory. Like make sure you are like pretty familiar with the theory and then like, before you start building on the practical applications. Like we've done like there has been enough progress in the space to the point where you can just write like 2 lines. It'll automatically give you a proper machine learning algorithm, a deep learning algorithm, a neural network, anything. So yeah, it's just more of you having to load up on theory and you having to like, pick a fight.
Okay, thank you.
Right, I see another question in the chat box on the same subject. What are some initial projects that an aspiring AI ML student should work on to begin building their skill set? Mohit sir, would you like to take this?
Okay, so I'm assuming that you obviously must know Python programming or at least any programming language because eventually you have to write code. And if you're following the path of Python programming, then there are a few important libraries like NumPy and Pandas and let's say TensorFlow. So and some sufficient theoretical knowledge of let's say neural network and what machine learning algorithm is. So if you have some sufficient knowledge of basic idea of what machine learning deep learning is, then you can start building some projects. So you can in the very beginning you can choose that if you want to build let's say computer vision type of project. For example, you must have seen recently that a lot of people are building face detection or something like mask recognition, whether the person is wearing mask or not, which is a very basic example of how or what you can build. But you can even make a better model, or you can make a build a better project, something like which can be used in a real world industry. uh, let's talk about a very open-ended question, and the question could be something like at emergency police station, let's say emergency station, there are multiple calls receiving. They are receiving like multiple calls using some probability distributions, using some machine learning knowledge. If you have to predict that at 5 p.m., at 12 a.m., at 3 a.m., what is the optimum number of staff members I need at that point of time, it can be solved using, let's say, a data. It can be thought of like a data science problem where you are using using the knowledge of distributions, you're using the knowledge of probabilities and statistics to find that optimum number of staff, so that you don't put the over staff member, you don't put 30 staff and they're just sitting chilling and idle, right? Even you don't want only 3 staff member, which is again very less underemployed, right? So you want, let's say this is one problem, very open ended, there can be multiple solution for this. So this is, let's say, one business case, right? This is actual a business case that can be implemented at any call center. Okay, there can be other projects where you work with a text data. For example, how would you summarize if there is a 100-page textbook and you have to summarize that? Let's say there is a video about a product. Let's say the product is iPhone 11 Pro Max, right? And you have to summarize that video so that you can write the pros and cons of that product. So this is again working on video and working on audio type of data. So these type of projects you can build. These are not very beginner friendly, but at the intermediate projects. So I think this would be you can do, or you can build these type of projects.
Ajay sir, what are your inputs on this?
Yeah, so it depends on the applications you have in your mind, right? Like, I mean, until like 2020, nobody even thought mask recognition is even a project that could be considered. And then all of a sudden it became a thing. So it depends on any problems that you are facing currently and how you wish to solve it. And you can always take your time to like sit and perfect it, make it better. Because at the end of the day, the like you aren't doing projects to fill up your resume. Like anybody can tell. Like if you are doing it for the sake of applying to a job or an internship, they can just tell from looking at the project that this project did not exactly take much effort. So you might as well like take your time, decide on a proper problem statement that like you are genuinely curious on applying AI for. I think you can like try working it out step by step. For example, like you know a problem first, and then you decide which field it is first, like whether it's computer vision or natural language processing. Then you decide on what and all is needed, whether you are theoretically prepared for it, and then you start like building on it, building like a simple like project first. And if that does not exactly work out well, you can always look into more as to why it's not working, or see if there have been any other advances in the field on the same application. You can try bringing that here. So if you are going to do projects, what they would what as an interviewer or any company would usually expect is they would want you to be completely clear about why you're doing it. Like why are you using this model or how are you evaluating this model, this application. So if you are able to answer all of that, they would be pretty confident because they know you definitely would have went through the entire code base and you would have implemented the model and you would have had to like read upon the model and the whole learning process itself if you are going to make use of it. So I think that is what you should be looking at. You should not be looking at whether the project is easy or anything. You should just take up an idea. You should start working on it. There are like it's the internet, so people are always working on things. They are definitely uploading things. So you'll always find something related to it on the internet. So you can always make use of it. Or you can also always reach out to people if you are finding things difficult. LinkedIn is one such platform. You always have like plenty of AI experts. And all you just have to do is like send them a request with maybe a note saying you'd like to connect with them and like you saw their profile, like with them being proficient and so and so, and how you are facing a problem here and you'd like your inputs. And they'd be willing to help you out on this, like guide you through.
Uh, Harsh, I hope that answers your question. We'll just have one last question. That's the last question in the chat box. Shreyas is asking, can AI develop sentience?
I don't think we are there yet because our models are pretty simple. But with the complex models, maybe I cannot comment much about it. If there have been incidents, I think there is this one incident. I think this kind of Facebook developed two bots, and those two bots started talking to each other. And after a day or two, they started like building their own language. And then in the end, they had to like shut it down because the bots are using a language which humans don't understand. So maybe not pretty often. But for your general
Mohit,
use applications, I don't think so.
Yeah, slightly it's slightly difficult to for a robot or for a machine or a program to work like a human. Although we say that artificial intelligence, the goal is to act like a human, work like or take output, take actions like a human, but to think like a human, it's very very difficult. Human brain is in itself is a very complex thing. Like we have not again we have not achieved even the 2% or 1% of the actual AI which is there, right? So lot of things to to be explored. I think this is one potential area where people can do more research on and find something interesting insights if a machine or a program can actually uh, create some emotions or have some feeling of attachment with people as well. So I think we have not achieved it yet, but maybe in future we don't know. Like if you go 10 years back, no one thought that we will be able to do these things in just 10 year of time, right? Which is neural network just became popular hardly after 2012, right? And before that no one knew that neural network could do this much of thing that we are using neural networks everywhere, literally everywhere. So we don't know what's ahead 10 year or 20 years ahead. So that we have to be constantly update to understand what people are doing research, what people are innovating new things, what technology people are using, and things that are going to be maybe yeah, something of that sort. Maybe we have to be constantly updating ourselves with the latest technology and to understand what is the new trend or what is the new technology that is going to be there in next 5 or 10 years.
Shreyas, I hope that answers your question. And we just have one question. Is asking, how can we get in touch with the speakers? Uh, any LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter profile links? Uh, Ajay sir, Mohit sir, can we share your LinkedIn profile links in the chat box if
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is all
sure.
right?
So
Yes, sure.
I've Mhm.
Right. So Rishabh, we'll just send them in the chat box. All right, Mohit sir has sent his profile over here. Uh, so I think we can wrap up this session for today. This has been a great session, sir, and Mohit sir and Ajay sir, thank you so much for taking out the time to come and speak with us. And we have learned a lot of things today. I'm sure the audience has also had a lot of questions answered. I myself have learned a lot of things today. And thank you once again for being over here. It was a great pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining in.
It is fun. Over to you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you everyone.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
sir, and have a good day.
You too. Bye.
We have a small announcement to make. So, as most of you might be aware, VIT will be having Tech Week from 21st to 28th. Sigma Xi will be hosting a symposium during that period. And we will also be having an Ideathon. The submission will start from next week for the Ideathon. Our theme for the Ideathon is Sustainable Development Goals. So, you can check out our socials for the dates, the criteria, the pool prize, etc. So, do keep on checking our socials for updates on this. And thank you everyone for joining our session. We hope you took something of value from this session today. And we will now be putting up the feedback form for the participants to fill out. Thank you.